Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Timothy, and we talk about horror movies. And in this episode, we are going to talk about a new horror film called Prevenge. Yes, it's called Prevenge, it's a made up word. As far as I know, admittedly, now that I've said that, someone's going to look up a dictionary and go, no, actually, there's a word called Prevenge. But this is a British movie about a pregnant woman who kills people.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's it. Without getting into spoilers, that's it. There's maybe a little bit more to it, but I think spoiler free. That's your synopsis. And we'll start spoiler free. We'll give you a warning before we go into spoilers when that goes down. But we'll start spoiler free and then we'll get into it. But that's the gist of the movie. It's written, directed, and starring Alice Lowe, who I was sure I recognised, and I looked her up and I thought, oh, yes, I did recognise her from like 4 different things, but for some reason I never remembered her enough to know that it's just her.
I looked her up as well. I knew who she was, but I specifically only knew her from Garth Marenghi's Dark Places, which is one of my favorite comedies of all times.
I have never seen that. I don't even think I've heard of it, honestly.
I'd highly recommend it. I think you might enjoy it.
Do you know what's funny, actually? There was one part of this where I was thinking, this reminds me a little bit of Sightseers, and lo and behold, she was the lead character in Sightseers. Yeah. She was also in Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
She was the sort of the girl who worked in the supermarket in Hot Fuzz, which I thought, shit, it couldn't have been her. She was that was like a young character, and I'm like, wait a minute, Hot Fuzz is 10 years old. Never mind. Time's getting on.
Yeah.
So she was in that. She was also one of the voices in Locke. She was one of the voices on the phone.
Oh, I didn't see that.
You didn't see it? Oh, Locke's really good. I reckon. Not a horror movie, obviously, but I'd recommend Locke. Locke's worth checking out. And
that's based off the character from Lost, I take it?
Unfortunately, no. Okay. But it is a tour de force movie with Tom Hardy, who acts so well that it doesn't matter that we're inside a car for the entire film.
Oh, you just read that off a poster. You're reading that verbatim off a poster.
No, I'm not.
That sounds like poster talk to me. I don't know. We'll get to the bottom of this.
Poster talk.
Yeah.
That sounds like poster talk. In space, no one can hear you scream.
That's just someone's review for Alien.
He's part man, part machine, all cop.
I wish I had a good one to join in, but I can't. Well, Alien's really well known, and then that one from RoboCop I just really like. It's just so cheesy and 80s. I just really like it. That's another one. 65 million years in the making. Oh, that was 65 million BC.
That was Jurassic Park for the people playing at home.
Flintstones was my second guess. Oh, wait, quick sidetrack. Have you been reading the Flintstones comic?
As if this wasn't already a sidetrack. Yeah, no, I've not been reading the Flintstones comic, Tim.
I haven't read it yet either, but I'm really excited to catch up. I heard it's great. But then just thinking of the Flintstones movie made me think like, oh man, what if that got really popular and then they did like a dark, gritty Flintstones reboot based more on this new comic? All right.
Sure. I could see it. All right. What are we talking about? We're talking about Prevenge.
Prevenge.
Yes, a pregnant woman who kills people. So I guess my first question would be, Tim.
Yeah.
Are we finally on to a winner that isn't Split and isn't like an old movie that we knew was going to be good?
I'm pretty disappointed. Well, I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was a bad movie, but it was not as good as I was hoping it would be. I was actually pretty excited for this. I like the premise. I thought, the title sounded cool, and looking at the trailer, I thought it looked really good, and I liked Alice Lowe. But when I was watching it, it didn't really do much for me. But not a terrible movie, but I was a little underwhelmed.
I liked it more than you did. I didn't love it, but I did. Yeah. I did get a bit more of it. I think I liked the I like the kills. I like the sort of dark humor of it because it is kind of a black comedy in the way that there's one or two scenes in particular which go super hilarious, which I was not necessarily prepared for, but it was really funny. Do you know what it kind of felt like? Have you seen Under the Skin?
Yes.
It felt like a weird, like, black comedy version of that, in a sense. You know, where it's hard, she's hunting down victims, kind of thing. Like, it was that, but without the mystery. That said, I liked a lot of the music. There was a lot of cool synth stuff going on, and it gave it this kind of cool mood. And there was a weird realness to it that was kind of, which I thought was both for and against it, because if I have one big complaint about the movie, other than maybe a little bit of the ending, is that I felt like visually it could have used a bit more style. There was that's not to say there's never any good visual moments. There's a few in my mind that I can think of, but a lot of it feels almost like TV kind of thing.
Well, here's what I had a problem with. I don't know if you'll agree, but I feel like
Probably not.
We'll see. I didn't think the direction really matched like the tone they were going for in the movie, because I felt like it was supposed to be more of a dark comedy, but like I understood that from the like situations that they were going for, but it never really looked like that to me. I don't know, like it seemed like it was supposed to be more comedic in a way, and I just never really like everything else like about it, just the way the camera was moving and the music, which I did like, but didn't really think it fit most of it.
See, I actually kind of look at it the opposite way around in a weird way.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think I liked what it was going for more outside of the comedy, and then the comedy was like an added on sprinkling. And there was a couple of scenes were really funny that I thought went a little bit too far. I liked it when it was more cutting, and it makes sense it's a British movie because it's got a very sort of dry humor to it. That it's it's not
Certainly.
super outside of maybe one milk related moment that's super in your face, but because for me, I think what I thought was interesting is the idea is that this woman. I don't think it's spoiling anything to say that it's part of the reason why this is happening is because the person that is the father of the baby is dead, and that's kind of what's put her on this spiraling path of insanity where she thinks she's killing people for our unborn baby who's talking to her in her head. Obviously, she's not really talking to her in her head; it's just her having this voice in her head. But that's kind of the gist of the movie. And for me, it was more. It felt like it was going for more of a kind of Under the Skin, kind of like almost Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, where it's a movie where we're following the killer, and it's from their perspective. Now, it had a bit more of a wit, and it was a bit obviously later than those two movies by a big stretch, but it was going for that kind of mood, which is why when like the synth music came in and it was sort of treating it like that, I was kind of into it. Other than maybe the visuals not quite always like being as good as what the rest of the stuff was doing. But I never necessarily took it as a comedy first.
Well, I mean, I think we're kind of floating around the same idea here. Like, I don't know, like I couldn't say necessarily if I thought it was more one direction or the other, but I just felt like it never had a firm grasp.
Yeah, they weren't clicking together is what you're saying. And I'm coming from the other side where I liked the other stuff more, and I felt like the comedy was maybe not always hitting it correctly.
Yeah, I think I don't know necessarily like if I liked one side more than the other. I think I just wanted it to be a little more uniform, and again, just for me to have a clearer understanding of, okay, it was trying to be this type of movie or this type of movie, instead of seeming like it kind of just fell somewhere in the middle. If that makes any sense.
I think I was liking the psychological element of it. I liked her being sort of damaged and sort of what was making her do it, and that was working up until a point. And then that's where I say I don't really like the last like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't stick the landing for that side of it for me, which kind of brings it down a little bit. I did enjoy it though, because I did have fun. I thought the kills were fun. I did like the mood at several points. But it does sort of leave me off at the end feeling a little bit kind of and it's a shame because the very final moment, because I really thought it was setting something up for the last chunk of the movie, and it didn't really do it, and then the one final moment kind of give you again like a hint of it just for the last split second, and I was like, I was kind of hoping she was going to do that, just like the whole last time. I thought I thought she was going to. Well, I don't want to get spoilers, so I'll save that. But
Yeah.
so
I mean,
I was gonna say it set me up for expectations, and I was enjoying it as it was building those expectations, and then it kind of didn't go that route, and it felt a little bit weird to me.
Yeah, and overall, I did, if I have to fall on one side of liking it or not liking it, I am gonna lean more towards liking it. Like, I did enjoy myself. I wasn't, angry or upset at having to watch it.
I like how you jumped to angry. It's like most people would be just kind of bored, maybe before they get to angry.
There's some movies we've watched that have made us angry. Let's not.
Well, no, there is. I'm just saying, like you don't jump to that end of the spectrum. You like because the way you're saying it, where it's like close to the line, it wouldn't be straight to anger. It'd be mediocre on that side. And
I only got 2 settings, and Lord help you if you set off the wrong one. That's stupid. But no, like I liked it, but I was just a little underwhelmed, and I did kind of have big expectations on it. I watched this on Shudder. I'm assuming you did as well, but like, they'd been pushing it for a while, so I'd been excited about it, and then again, like looking at the trailer and the concept and stuff, maybe I hyped it up a little bit too much in my head or something. But,
yeah, maybe. Is it like I said? I was really into it early on, and probably
I think it has a pretty good opening.
Yeah, and probably for quite a while, because I think the opening scene sets up what it's kind of going to be. Like, you think she's this sort of middle-aged pregnant woman who's very sort of like timid and whatever, and then she sort of does something violent, and you sort of like, oh, this is what this is going to be. She's going to be someone who goes around killing people, but she's going to be so unsuspected because of who she is and what her condition is, and that makes like an interesting kill movie to me. And then I thought it was going a different path towards the end, and then the way it did go down, it wasn't terrible or anything like that, but it felt more of a like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing, instead of like I thought we were just going to keep building, and I'll talk about it more in spoilers, so I can actually talk about where I thought it was going. But so that's kind of where I am on it. I did say the visuals could have been a little bit more interesting, because I thought the music was good. I thought I did think there was some good visuals. There was like one death in particular I thought had a really cool final sort of shot. And there was a couple of moments here or there that played with the visuals, but a lot of the time it felt like a very, almost too down to earth the way it was being shot. Like instead of giving it a style, it was like, oh, this is like 101 how it should look if you're not giving it a style kind of thing. It was going for that sort of almost documentary feel at times.
I feel like that's kind of a recent thing. I feel like that's kind of like the go-to now of, if you don't have a specific style, like you were saying, that's just kind of like the default, setting that a lot of movies seem to go with now. I don't know.
Maybe it's just because I've seen like British soaps, so it just reminds me of British soaps and stuff. Because it's set in the UK, so maybe that's where my mind's going with it. I don't know, but it has that. I'm like, just give it a bit more of a style, give it a bit more of a bit of flair visually.
That's a little bit of hot sauce on it.
Yeah, that's not to say it's poorly directed per se. I thought there were some.
No, certainly not.
I think the comic timing, the dark comic timing, is actually very good. The timing of the kills is also very good. They come at really sort of sudden bursts, and it's like, the kills, much like the comedy, are very well timed. I think all that's actually pinpointed very well. And sometimes the main character Ruth, who's the killer. Like, sometimes, like when she's in like a normal situation where it's not a kill scene, it's just she's talking to her midwife or something like that, and she'll come out with a really like full bit of language, and it just like it proper made you laugh. It was kind of not quite like The Office when he'd say something inappropriate, but it kind of like touching those lines. And maybe those are the bits that feel like they're almost out of a different movie, where it was almost getting into that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But all right, let's get some spoilers and let's dive into plot. So. Yeah, so full spoilers from this point on. So much of the movie is her like just one by one hunting people. It seems random at first, but obviously as the movie goes on, it becomes clear that she's hunting the people who were involved in the death of her boyfriend, who was on a rock climbing kind of like day with these people, and they were all connected by a rope, and there was 7 in total, including the instructor. So we never really get explained fully, but we just get like a sense that, you know, that we're all in this rope. They're in a situation where they're all going to die if they didn't cut one person off, and he happened to be at the bottom, I guess, and therefore she's hunting these people down one by one. And honestly, I think one of the music's really good, right? And that's maybe my favourite thing, but I honestly do want to praise the fact that I don't think there's a single kill that I didn't enjoy. They've all got something good about them, whether it's the style, whether it's the brutality of it, whether it's the surprise of the moment. None of them feel like weak in any way.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You know, I think you have a guy at the start who's it's a pretty simple throat slit, but it's the first one, so it really comes out of nowhere, and she's being timid in this like reptile pet store, and it's just when he's like, it's out of nowhere as well. He's just leaning down, and she just grabs a knife and slits his throat right there and then. And then there's the businesswoman that she kills, the Scottish woman who she bangs her head in the desk. But what I really liked about that one is the ending shot where the camera's under the table. And it's like it's like frosted glass, but you see the blood. The blood still comes through the frosted glass really well because it's bright red, and that looked really cool.
That looked really cool, and I don't know if you noticed, but that was the mother from The Witch.
I did notice that, yeah. Which I had no idea she was Scottish, so she covered that well in that movie.
Yeah, surprising.
Yeah, so, but no, so like the kills were good. The DJ guy, of course, he was like, his had a lot of build to it. I think it's because it was the first proper kill after the opening where she was like out in the prowl. And this DJ Dan, he's an idiot for a start because he just thinks she's fat. And then then he while she's trying to talk to him at the bar, he turns around and says, "I'm going to buy these two girls drinks as well because I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket for the night." Because at first he didn't seem so bad because he was like, "Look, I'm not looking for anything serious," and that's perfectly fair. You make that clear, and the two people can move forward with that information and what they want. But then he's like, "I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. I'm going to buy these girls drinks too." And then we see them dancing, and then they're in the taxi and the way home.
Oh god, this I did not like this scene.
This was the most disgusting scene, because so he kisses her like once, and it's like, yeah, fine. And then he starts throwing up into his wig. He's got this wig that he wears when he's a DJ, and all right, fine, he's throwing up, and it's all kind of disgusting. And then he kisses her while he's still got like sick on the side of his mouth. He goes in for a kiss, and then he actually says out loud, "Oh, being sick really turns me on."
It's funny that in a movie where people are getting like their throats cut and stabbed, that like this is the grossest part of it.
Yeah. Oh dear. So yeah, that's all that, and there's some humor with him when he gets. So he's a vile human being. He's like vile in every way possible. And actually, at this point in the movie, we didn't know that she was hunting down specific people. I thought she was going after
just
people
like trying to pick people up or something.
Yeah, I thought she was specifically going after people who didn't make use of their life. Like she felt like they were wasting it. Because he was like this loser who
You thought she was Jigsaw.
Yeah, well, kind of. When I say wasting it, though, I mean wasting it in the sense where this guy's got no ambition, he's living with his mother, he's just this pathetic loser who doesn't do anything. Because then the next kill, I might be getting them out of order, but there was another one as well that was kind of like that. And obviously, the build to the instructor's the last one she goes to. We actually, he's the only one where we get a couple of scenes with him throughout the film to build him up. He's like the main event that she's building to. But the other kills, though, there's one where she's like, she pretends to be going for an interview to be a roommate, to be a flatmate at this house that's got two other guys living, and one guy's the one she wants to kill, named Zach, but he's not there when she gets there, and it's the other roommate that's there. And he's actually the first person in the movie who's a really decent human being, because he's like, "Oh, that's awful," because she lies about, you know, the boyfriend left me like 2 months into the pregnancy and kicked me out of the house. He's like, "Oh, that's awful," and he offers her food. He makes nice small talk. He's very pleasant. And then Zach comes in the door, and she just grabs like a candlestick and shoves it in his eye, and his eye's like halfway hanging out. And we should have mentioned DJ Dan get his dick cut off.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to gloss over that. I just realised we'd skip past that in his scene. We were talking about how disgusting he was. We forgot to mention to get his dick cut off.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah, and then unfortunately she turns around and has to kill the other guy because the voice in her head's like, "It's a witness, you have to kill him," blah 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 blah. And the other kill is another woman who she goes to her house and pretends to be a charity worker. One of these annoying people who chap in your door and are like, "Hey, I'm from such and such charity. Can we talk about you making a donation?" And she cons her way inside to use the bathroom. What? Sorry, Tim?
Oh no, I was just gonna say this might be my favorite like killer interaction.
This was funny because she attacks her with like a, because there's like a rowing like paddle or something.
Paddle.
Yeah, there's a paddle that she hits her with, and she runs into that room and she's like, oh, she's obviously waiting to call the police. And Ruth like sort of composes herself, and then she walks in, and as she walks in the door, like the woman's standing there with boxing gloves on, like she's got prepared. And all I could think was, isn't the point of boxing gloves mostly to not make the punches be like lethal?
I guess.
Like
I don't know.
Like surely your bare fist would be, if you're trying to actually hurt someone, your bare fist would be more useful.
Yeah. I think boxing gloves still pack a punch though, and maybe
sure.
if you want it for a little extra reach or something, or I don't know.
It was a really funny image. Like she comes around, she's got a knife, and even Ruth starts laughing, and it's a really funny scene. Yeah. And she ends up, she punches her like twice, and she's like, "Will you stop doing that?" And she's like, "No." And then she punches her stomach, and she sort of plays hurt, and then stabs her, and there you go, dead. And then that's where we get this funny scene with the milk, because there was a line with the midwife early on where she's like, "Oh yeah, your body's not in control. You might like start randomly like milking with no warning."
Like any loud noise can like set you off, and then she hears the police sirens, and then just looks down, and there's these two big wet spots.
Yeah, these two big milk stains right over her boobs.
Milk stains.
Milk stains, yeah. She has to like, escape, and there you go. So I think all the kills are fun on their own. I think it's just the scenes with the midwife in between are really funny, but maybe don't quite fit the kind of surreal tone that otherwise is kind of there. And I guess maybe that's where I'm talking about where the direction for me, the visual style doesn't quite always match, because it doesn't feel surreal. Like the movie, it feels like it's going for a surreal kind of feeling, and then the visuals aren't doing that, which is kind of where I sort of have a hiccup. But so throughout the movie, she's watching this old film, which I'm ashamed to say that I cannot name. I wanted to know what it was. I will probably look it up later. But there's a sort of crazy woman in it with a big sort of like eyeshadow, and she's sort of screaming, and she's got this like sort of dress on that's got big sort of arms that are sort of blowing in the wind, kind of thing. And she's stalking the last victim, the instructor, the rock climbing instructor, who she's going to kill last. And she sees that he's going to a Halloween party on Facebook, and she's like, right, I'm going. And she dresses up. She puts this face paint on, this black and white face paint. And she puts this red dress on that's got the similar kind of thing to the dress as the woman in the movie that she's been seeing throughout the film. And she's walking through the street with the knife, like just in well, not broad daylight because it's nighttime, but just, blatantly walking through the street with the knife. And I'm like, oh, this is great. She's going to go absolutely berserk. And this is where I was getting my expectations from. I thought it was all building up to her sort of killing him and being killed by either the police or whatever, like having one final blaze of glory before she goes down. I never expected her to survive.
Yeah,
I guess is what I'm saying. I expected her to sort of go out like a crazy person, and I was kind of building to that because of the face paint, because of the knife. It was kind of building up to me, and then she gets there, and he like she finds out that this guy's girlfriend / wife is pregnant, and if she kills him, she'll be in the same situation that she's in. And that's conflicting for her, and they have this sort of emotional moment where she tries to go in and kill him, and he kind of talks her out of it. And her water breaks during this whole affair as well, might add. But then we see that she gets a C-section, and her baby's there, and she's all conflicted and weird. And it's like, okay, so where's this going? Like, because she starts to say to the midwife, I've done terrible things, I've made mistakes. Obviously the midwife takes this as more normal things and not killing people.
Yeah.
And she is like, oh, we all make mistakes. It's, pregnancy's a rough time. I'm like, is this really just going to have her just raise the kid now? Is she going to be a mother? And that's not quite what happens. She goes out to the cliff where her boyfriend died. And she thinks she sees him. This is where it gets a little bit more surreal, where she's like sort of envisioning things, and she thinks she sees her boyfriend, And it turns out it's actually the instructor, because as we get from the previous scene, the instructor clearly, because he even says at one point, I've looked at that day like 100 times trying to think of what else we could have done, because he's obviously guilty. Like he is going through a lot from this experience, because he believes it's on his head that this happened, because he's the one who's meant to keep them safe. And he's out there at the cliff face doing pretty much what she was kind of doing, where he's reflecting. He's feeling guilty, he's feeling bad, he's out there, he's taking it in. And she sees him, and you almost think they're having this moment of like kind of like mutual understanding of what they're both going through while they're out there. And then that's the final moment of the film where she screams, and she does basically what the woman in the movie did, as if she's about to kill him, and then it cuts to the credit. And for me, that was kind of weird, because I thought that's what it was just building up to her doing the whole time. And I don't know if maybe the point of actually going and having the baby was like, oh, like life lives on, and like the baby has a chance now beyond the insanity of her parents kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe, maybe the whole thing's a metaphor for like just how tough pregnancy is, and how it like it puts a stress on like women who go through it. Like I can see maybe that's where it's coming from. But for me, the final like 10 minutes just kind of felt like it was building and building, and then it just kind of went,
Yeah, it wasn't great. I think I would have probably also appreciated something that was a little more like, yeah, you're amping up to this big, like final kill, and yeah, then you just kind of let down. But I mean, I guess like story wise it kind of works, but then it's a little weird to have that last little bit at the end where it's like she goes back, and then it does seem like, oh, maybe she is gonna kill him now.
Well, that was the thing, because he says that when he spoke to her boyfriend, like he was actually thinking of breaking up with her, and to me that implied that maybe she wasn't all there in the first place. Like she was already kind of weird, maybe not quite killing people yet, but she was, he could recognize that she wasn't stable or whatever. And it just, I don't know, it felt like it was building to something, and instead of like, because it didn't feel triumphant either, because she said the voice went away, but to me it didn't feel like she'd like defeated it, like she'd overcome it. It just felt like it kind of ended, and then it seemed like she was going to kill him anyway at the end.
Now, let's talk about the voice for a little bit here, because this might actually be the biggest disappointment for me in the movie, because I kind of thought that was the premise, where it was more like this lady, didn't want to do these things, but is being like ordered, by the voice of her unborn baby. And there was that to an extent, but it feels more like, oh, she kind of wants to do this, or, is planning to do this. I think I was hoping for, like, you don't hear the baby that often.
Well, I never took it as actually being the baby, though. I took it as her, like, the whole time. Like, that's not the baby talking to her. That's just what her head's doing to, like, right, give her these instructions.
But the head is thinking it's the baby. Like, I'm not saying that it literally in real life, is the baby, but, that's how she's, like, manifesting it or whatever. But I thought there was going to be more of that, which I kind of like, because that's, like, the weird angle that I was looking for in the movie.
It disappeared for long stretches of time, where it seemed to go away. There was a couple of, obviously there was some key scenes where it did come in, but it did disappear for long stretches, and that was it almost makes me wish that it wasn't there at all.
Yeah.
Because it almost makes it a bit goofier to me, having this voice, like, this little girl's voice swearing and telling her to kill people and not to be a pussy and things like that.
Yeah. It just seems like another example of maybe not 100% knowing what it wanted, because, I mean, that could have, like, been the entire premise of a movie, like a lady being, ordered around by her unborn baby to do these, crazy, sick things that she didn't want to do. Like, that seems like it could be its whole other thing entirely. But
it's actually really funny, because you could have said that, okay, it is literally the baby, and then it becomes like an occult film where the baby's actually like the spawn of Satan, and it's literally telling the mother to kill people. You could have went that route, I suppose. I think really what we're getting at here is there's a lot of ideas in the movie, and there's some really good stylistic things about the movie, but all of it's not getting quite there. It's not none of it's quite hitting the 100% button. They're all maybe getting to about 70%, and then they're not quite clicking together.
Yeah, like it makes an enjoyable experience, but it doesn't add up to like an over the top like, oh, I was like wowed by this movie, or something like that.
As much as we're kind of pointing out what's not quite working, I feel like that's because we feel like it should have worked, and it didn't quite get there. And I did enjoy it. I think I enjoyed it more than Tim did.
Yeah, like I think you definitely enjoyed it more than me, but again, I do want to just mention that I probably sound a little harder on it, but I didn't hate it. Like I definitely didn't hate it. I didn't think it was bad.
I think it comes down to it's a pretty decent to good movie, but like it didn't leave a lasting impression where I'm like, I'm going back to this. Whereas Under the Skin, for example, which is, I mean, I know it's not the exact same type of thing, but that left an impression, and I'll revisit that.
Yeah, that's one of those movies where like I saw it in the theaters, and like even like 6 weeks after it'd come out, I was still thinking like, man, like what the heck was going on, or it was so crazy.
Yeah, and not that this needs the mystery per se of that, because that had a lot of mystery in it as well. But even something like I said, I mentioned Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, where it's just you're inside the sick mind, or something like Maniac. Maniac's maybe a good comparison as well, where you're following the movie from the perspective of the killer, and they're hunting their victims down, and it's fine that there's a connection here where it's not just random people. There's a reason for going after each one. But I don't know, for me it felt like it was building. It felt like it was building the whole movie, like it was, because she was getting crazier. She was getting more sadistic with the kills as the movie went on. She was hearing the voice maybe more as the film went on as well. And I felt like putting on that paint and going out dressed to kill, as it were. I felt like it was building to something, and then it felt like it didn't get. It just felt anticlimactic, I guess, is to put it in a short one sentence. It was anticlimactic.
Well, that's definitely, and I think that is a very valid point, because that is a lot of setup. That's really like intricate war paint too. Like it's not like she's just putting on a mask or something. Like that was like a lot of paint, and putting on the dress, and then looking like this movie that's been appearing.
To play devil's advocate though, like what could the point of this be? Like I'm thinking maybe, okay, maybe it's like the idea that when a woman's pregnant, she's like constantly terrified. Well, maybe not all women, but I'm just saying like some might be like constantly terrified of what the pain it's going to be. Like they're constantly and just in fear of the whole process of giving birth and what it's going to be like. But then it's actually, they build it up so much in their minds that it's not actually that bad. Maybe that's kind of the point of that, where it's all building, and then it's like, oh no, it's not actually like the end of the world when you get there. It's fine. You got through it, kind of thing. Like maybe that's what the point of that was. I don't know. I'm trying to read into it. I'm trying to give it some more meaning to make it work more for me, because as it is, it just kind of feels underwhelming.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you actually kind of, if you get to the point where you understand what it represents and what it means, it can click in a better way. I'm just struggling getting there, and
I mean, I'm sure if you look at it like even the title Prevenge, to me that's it sounds like, oh, you're getting revenge before anything actually happens, and you can kind of, even though she's actually kind of getting it is more revenge, but
it's really I mean really all it is a plain prenatal and revenge. Yeah. It's revenge before the birth. That's what it is.
But I mean you could probably I'm sure make a case about how like she is preemptively attacking the world or something before her baby's born into these like harsh conditions or something. I don't know. Yeah,
because I think all the scenes with the midwife touch on a lot of like maybe the themes that it's trying to hit on, where she's like the midwife will bring up stuff like, we need to do this, and I need to contact social services if you're not feeling well, and maybe like again to go like, is there a message to this if it is about pregnancy? Is it maybe saying like, oh, she's withholding information, she's not willing to talk about what she's going through, and if you do that, it builds up, and this is like like movies do, it's an exaggeration of what happens, like it blows up. Like if you don't talk about the stress of it, if you don't talk about what you're going through in the pregnancy, it can cause you damage because you're letting it build up, and that's what the kills represent. It's it's this manifestation of like a a much more subdued but serious thing that a lot of pregnant women go through. And I'm trying to maybe I'm trying to give it more meaning, because I feel like there's ideas there. I don't know if they all come across and click together in the end, which is a shame. But it's not a bad watch either, though. I was never bored. It was always entertaining.
Yeah. It's not overly long or anything. It's a nice 90-ish minutes.
Yeah, pace is nice and brisk. The kills are all either vicious or fun or funny. Like, they all have something going for them to make them entertaining in their own way, which is really good. It's really inventive, especially since it's not like she's this big killer who can do a lot of different things. But yeah.
And again, just to touch on it real quick, like you said, the music was really good. I think most people, I think a lot of, I mean, maybe I'm just speaking for us and our like little group that talk about horror movies and stuff, but I think a lot of us enjoyed that kind of 80s synth, music. And again, for me, like, there might have been a little bit of disconnect between at some points in the movie, but I did enjoy it overall.
Yeah. I think it's a solid fun time. It's a really good one-time watch, but I don't think it's one, at least I feel the need to revisit. I think it was a good one and done, and I don't regret my time with it, certainly. So I'll give it a chance. I mean, as much as we've kind of picked it apart and we've said why it wasn't quite reaching. I don't know if that's maybe almost more of a compliment in a weird way. We were saying, oh, if it just clicked a bit more than it did, if it just did a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, it could have been in the great, like, buy this movie on disc and rewatch it every once in a while kind of recommendation. So
certainly.
So take the criticisms with as a kind of a compliment, in the sense where it's almost getting there in a lot of cases.
Yeah. All
right, ratings, Timmy.
These ones are always a little bit harder. I feel like to rate. I was kind of skirting between like a 6 and a 6.5, but I think I'm gonna go with a solid 6 for this one.
It's funny actually, because I'm actually the same between a 6.5 and a 7. That's where I'm kind of landing on. I'll go one above you. I'll say 7, because as much as like I have picked it apart and I've said all the things that could have made it an 8 or a 9 or whatever, it is entertaining. I think we didn't really mention the acting from the lead, because she's actually she's very good. There's a very natural kind of awkwardness that she brings to it, and it feels very natural. So
I think she's really great, and I would, again, we said, like, check out her IMDb. I haven't seen everything she's in, but everything that I have seen that she was in, I thought she was really great, and I'd recommend definitely checking out other stuff she's done.
Yeah, she was in Paddington as well, actually. I think about it.
Oh.
just for something different. She's not always in a movie with like crazy people doing stuff, dear. All right, there we go. I think that's us. So let us know what you thought of the movie in the comments below. If you've seen it, like and subscribe and all that stuff helps us out a lot. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. Individual Twitters, I'm Wooble89. Connor. Tim. I do apologise, Connor. That was insulting. That was really insulting. Tim's at Tim Vergulish if you want to get him on Twitter. And that's pretty much us. We will be back, of course, next week with another horror movie. So you can look forward to that. We are back on the Tales from the Crypt episodes, one per week. We ended up having a couple of weeks off for various reasons. Partly you can blame Iron Fist for a good bit of that. And
can blame Iron Fist for a lot of things.
You can blame Iron Fist for a lot of things. Did you know, Tim, actually, my outro on Almost Cancelled, our TV reviews that I did with Connor, for those who don't know what that is, at the end of the show in this, I say, we'll see you next time. And I used to say that on Almost Cancelled, but I've changed what I say at the end of Almost Cancelled because of Iron Fist.
Okay, what do you say?
There's a quote. How much have you watched of it?
I think I got like 3 episodes in.
Oh yeah, you're nowhere close. It was episode 9. Episode 9 had a line of dialogue that made me and Connor laugh so much that I've started saying it at the end of every single Almost Cancelled.
Okay, lay it on me.
It's now my sign off. So at the end of the videos, I say, instead of "we'll see you next time," I say, "Have you got any vanilla?"
Okay.
I am out of context. That just sounds like nonsense.
Yeah.
But if you make it to episode 9, Tim, you will piss yourself when you hear that line.
Okay.
You will piss yourself. So if nothing else, Iron Fist did at least give me a good sign-off line. At least for me. Do you know what I like about it? I like that anyone who doesn't know what it's from will start asking, what the hell's this vanilla thing about? What's going on?
Yeah.
What's going on? Oh, yeah, that was a weird tangent to end on. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back. Check out Tales from the Crypt reviews, check out the other horror movies, so on and so forth. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.